Alright, this video is titled "The Worst Lie Anime Fans Tell Themselves." It had Natsu in the thumbnail, so I don't know if it's gonna be a fairy tale related video or not. But as you can see, we also have gray here. It fucking at the start of the video, so it might be a fairy tale video, probably not. Probably just to trigger people like me to watch it. But you know, I want to hear. I'm not. I don't want to be just the fairy tale guy. I want to be the anime guy. You know, I know a lot about multiple animes besides just fairy tale. Fairy tale is something I grew up with, but let's see if this is just about fairy tale or it's just about like lots of animes.
Remember when everyone thought Natsu was an
Let me put the speed back down to normal. Natsu is amazing.
character? So how did he become the face of anime casuals? Why does Natsu get so much hate, and is this hate really justifiable considering how many people love Fairy Tail? In this video, I'm gonna analyze one of anime's most divisive characters, discuss how one flaw makes him insanely misunderstood, and explain why it's okay to love boring characters. And since let's start by talking about the one thing that people hate about Natsu. He's boring. At least
I feel like I preach this all the time, but for someone like me who has a story in the works, I feel like one thing you have to learn about your main character is how do they fit in the said world that you put them in. Like Asta. He has no magic power, but yet he's able to rally and inspire and help people who are way stronger than him, who've had magic for years, and sees him as like a rival, you know, like he motivates everybody in the series. He's literally titled the flaw of the world, like, and that's the great thing. Luffy is now shown to be Joy Boy, a person who, you know, brings smiles to everyone, you know. Yeah, I know people are gonna hate this analogy, or not analogy, but like this statement I'm about to say. Even Ichigo is a good main character to me. People may not like that, but like, you couldn't put Ichigo in, like, Naruto. You couldn't put Ichigo in Attack on Titan, you know? Ichigo fits in Bleach, you know? Him wanting to just protect his friends helps with his backstory and his motivation. I feel like people don't like him mostly because he has Hollow powers, Quincy powers, Shinigami powers, Full Brain. He has all the powers, but, like, let's look at some other main characters. Let's look at Luffy's fucking family tree and see how talented he is, or how it's just genetics. He has Hero of the Marines, though he has Monkey D. Dragon, who's, I don't know, probably one of the strongest people in the verse right now. Like, and then apparently he's a reincarnation of Joy Boy / Roger. Like, come on, bro. Like, let's stop acting. And Naruto, fucking, you know. So that can't be all it is. I feel like people just gravitate towards stupid topics and just run home with it. So I think Natsu doesn't have as good of traits for a main character as something like a goal that helps the story or helps his motivations for doing things. I did see a video where I did kind of agree with, where Natsu's goal doesn't really help progress the story. Like, what does us going to fight a dark guild have to do with us finding Igneo? You know? So I don't know. Let's get back into the video.
At least that's what the haters will say. People who hate Fairy Tail will say Natsu is completely overrated, and he represents everything wrong with shonen protagonists. Which, even as a Fairy Tail fan, I will admit that those people aren't totally wrong. Shonen anime's been getting a bad rap lately for putting out basically the same story over and over, and a large part of that is because of generic main characters that all just want to get stronger and be a hero using the power of friendship. Obviously, whenever you bring up the power of friendship, everyone thinks of Fairy Tail. For better or worse, Natsu is the king of the power of friendship. It's a lot of his motivation, and it's how he wins like half of his fights. So when people say Natsu is boring, this is usually what they mean. He's a character that embodies a lot of the tropes that even the biggest shonen fans don't like about the genre. But here's the problem with using that to say Natsu is a bad character. The reality is nobody cared about this 16 years ago. Yeah, if you want to—
no one cared, bro.
This episode of Fairy Tail came out 16 years ago. For a lot of people, Fairy Tail was their very first anime.
That's what I'm saying, bro. It's weird how niggas want to shit on Fairy Tail all of a sudden, when, like, if it was really that bad, it wouldn't be going on still to this day. You know what I'm saying? There's still manga chapters coming out for it, you know? There's still an anime being animated for it. Like, if it was really that bad as people try to make it out to be, then it wouldn't be a thing still, you know? We wouldn't be talking about it as much.
Watch that wasn't Dragon Ball, Bleach, or One Piece. I must have watched it, God, at least like 14 years ago. And back then, I wasn't thinking about shonen protagonists or deeper psychology.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We're in a time where like every stat matters now. Like no matter what it is, what timeline, what generation, someone has something to pull up something bad about something, and it's always to compare and contrast. Oh, he's not as strong as this character. Or oh, this anime has these tropes. This anime don't. This anime is trash because it has these tropes. Like, come on, bro. No one was thinking that shit when they were kids. Come on, bro.
Backstories. Back then, all I knew was that Natsu had these cool dragon powers. He was kind of funny, and it was really cool to watch his fights. That's all I needed. And that's all it took for an entire generation of people to get into anime. The reality is that Natsu is popular not because he's complicated or because he's innovative. He's popular because he's got cool powers and he's simple to understand. And that's the charm of Natsu.
That's what I'm saying. That should be it, you know? Unless it's either that, or they do have a complicated, in-depth backstory, you know, or something that motivates them to do something to move the plot forward. Like, you can have both. You don't need to have a super detailed, in-depth, crazy backstory to, you know, be a good character. I say Naruto. Aside from him being bullied as a kid, which realistically should not have happened, you know, should not have happened. He should be hailed as a hero from the jump, you know. Unless the Nine Tails was like taking over his body as a child and was like having outrages, then I can understand the village doing that. But honestly, if he low key saved the village himself, he has a Kyuubi inside him. Why are they hating on him? You know, so that list doesn't make sense. But even then, people love Naruto because of how he brings and how he's able to talk people and, you know, do that stuff. Natsu almost does the same thing. So, like, what are we on about, bro?
Popular because everyone can have fun watching him fight, and he's simple enough that everyone can understand him. But that's precisely the problem people have. People who don't like Natsu will say it's precisely because he's so simple that they find him boring or annoying. And I can definitely understand where people are coming from. Natsu's flaw isn't just that he's boring. It's really that he's kind of a flat character. Natsu has goals that are interesting enough, like wanting to find Igneel and wanting to protect his friends. And he even has a tragic backstory where his adoptive father just ups and leaves him when he's a kid. But when you look at Natsu and what motivates him, his motivations are very straightforward to the point where it's almost too simple. Because of this, it's kind of offensive just how inoffensive he is as a character. Like, take Luffy for example.
Bro, what is happening, bro? Why is it all jittery? See that shit? Y'all see that shit, or is that just me? That shit was so jittery, what the fuck? Yeah, but I hate when people try to, like, think right.
He's also a very simple character that is commonly understood to have a flat character arc. But Luffy is seen as a more interesting character because he'll do stuff like punch gods and set government buildings on fire.
Natsu would do that shit in a heartbeat.
There's a bit of danger to Luffy that makes him a bit
what are we talking about?
And therefore exciting. Then you have someone like Ichigo, who for a while was clowned on because he was, quote, a passive protagonist. But people love Ichigo because he's flawed. He has a desire to protect his friends, just like Natsu. But whereas Natsu doesn't really have any clear flaws, Ichigo is constantly struggling to balance his desire to protect with his fear of failing those he cares about. And that's where we get into claims of Natsu being generic, because it's almost like there's no friction with his character. He does struggle to get stronger, but he doesn't have any personal vulnerable flaws, and he's almost too safe of a character. But that brings up a question about shonen protagonists and main characters in general. Do characters need to be complex or controversial?
They really don't.
Fun?
They
The
don't.
answer is clearly no. Fairy Tail is one of the best-selling manga of all time, and its characters are far from complex. Like I said, I wasn't analyzing the psychology of Natsu back when I started the
anime.
No. I thought it was funny how he got sick on trains. I thought it was cool that he had these dragon-themed attacks and that he literally ate fire, something that you still never see in Fairy Tail kinda made famous. I thought it was fun watching him go on adventures with the other Fairy Tail members, like the time he pretended to be a ninja with Lucy, or the episode where we meet Erza and she beats the crap out of Natsu and Gray. I thought it was really cool when he fought the other Dragon Slayer, Gajiel, and he used Dragon Force or whatever form it was. And of course, who could forget when Natsu fights Jelal, eats those mana crystals, and uses Dragon Force to beat the crap out of him and save Erza. I can't remember exactly when I got into anime, but I remember those special episodes that always stuck with me, like the walk to Arlong Park in One Piece. For me and a lot of Fairy Tail fans, Natsu fighting Jelal is one of those moments.
Yeah.
They're all amazing moments that even the biggest haters will tell you are fun to watch. They're funny and exciting, and they remind you of how good Fairy Tail is, especially in the beginning. And I didn't even mention the insane fights during the Battle of Fairy Tail arc. All of this is achieved without Natsu having deeper flaws or complexities. He's a testament to the fact that you don't need a complex character to have a good story. You just need a good character to have a great story. Now, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to take that and then say this makes Natsu one of the best main characters of all time. I wouldn't even say he's in the top 30. As much as I think Natsu is a funny character with cool powers, it doesn't change the fact that what you see is what you get. For example, Okarun in Dandadan is also a simple character, but he has flaws. He struggles to balance his feelings for Momo with his own insecurities. As a result, even though his only real goal is finding
really the
flaws,
plotline?
both literally and figuratively, people find Okarun to be a more interesting character because of his personal struggle. Natsu is naturally less interesting
that's relatable.
because he can get all the cool powers in the world, but besides his goal of finding Igneal, he's an incredibly narrow character with little room to change or surprise you. Like, as much as I enjoy 100 Years Quest, I have zero problem saying Natsu is basically the same character. And it's because Natsu
I can say the same thing for Luffy.
to really change that much over time, which is especially ironic considering he's in the same story with plenty of other amazing characters. Everyone
is
loves
true.
Erza and her struggle to balance her desire for family and her fear of being vulnerable. Everyone loves the Ultier scene where she sacrifices her time. And Lucy is still an awesome character, even if she's mostly just a source of fan service in the later story. In the early story, she was one of the best characters. She has all of the history with the celestial spirits, and she has her emotional backstory with her father and mother. It makes you wonder how Fairy Tail can have all of these other great characters, while Natsu is such a simple character. And my response to that is that's the point.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about how you watch Fairy Tail for the characters and not the plot, but everyone forgets how the other characters cover for Natsu's lack of depth. Like, if you love Fairy Tail and you love watching Natsu, but you wish there was more to invest in emotionally, that's perfect because you have at least a dozen other characters like Erza or Lucy or Gray or whoever. Really, this is the story with like every other popular series. I guarantee that if I picked like the 10 most popular anime, 9 times out of 10, the main character is not your favorite character.
Yeah, but people love to say it is. Bro, why is it all jittery?
Probably gonna say Kenpachi, even though they love Ichigo. Naruto, everyone's gonna say someone like Sasuke.
No one likes Sasuke
people are
nowadays.
probably gonna say something like Zoro or Law. This isn't to say there aren't exceptions.
Yeah,
I bet
people
most
obviously like
Frieren the most, but it's almost a universal law that in any given franchise, even though everyone likes the main character, everyone else is going to seem more attractive for one reason or another. Main characters always just end up being the casual pick, whether it's the basic Space Marines in Warhammer 40k, the humans in World of Warcraft, or even Goku in Dragon Ball. But most people
If your favorite character is Goku, bro, you're
Goku
weird.
is a boring character. That take is so contrived that it just makes you sound like an elite. And it's the same thing with Natsu. Now,
people like Goku. I say Goku's storyline is worse than anyone.
Hiro Mashima and say Natsu is the all-time best main character in all of fiction. I haven't actually checked, but I'm willing to bet that the answer is yes. But those are the hardcore fans. The reality is that most Fairy Tail fans know Natsu is far from a perfect character, but we also know he's perfect for Fairy Tail. And guess what everyone loves about Fairy Fairy Tail. The cool fights in the emotional backstories. And you wouldn't have a lot of those emotional moments if it weren't for the chemistry between Natsu and these characters. Could Natsu be more complex? Sure. But he's a fun character, and Mashima focuses more on the way he interacts with and changes other characters. He leaves the emotional stuff that everyone loves to the surrounding characters, so Natsu can
It's like Asta, like I said, bro. Asta doesn't have power, and outside of that, his personality is so base. He wants to be strong. That's it. He has no real character progression. Us, the viewers, want to know his backstory and shit like that, like where he came from and shit. But like in universe, people just see him as how we see like Natsu. Like he's just a happy-go-lucky child who just wants to be strong, who wants to get better. And people love Asta. That's what I'm saying. It's weird how you guys will like other main characters who have the same traits and same character as Natsu, like Luffy, like Asta, and will hate on Natsu, bro. It's weird, bro. It's so.
And it also helps that a lot of these surrounding characters also have really cool powers. Just not as cool as lightning fire breath. And this is what everyone gets wrong about Natsu in Fairy Tail. People point to characters like Natsu and they say this is what's wrong with shonen anime.
Bro,
They
what?
point to newer series like Dandadan or Gachi Akuta and say we need more of this. But as much as I love those kinds of series and genuinely hope that we continue to get more characters like Okaroon and Rudo, I'm also not gonna pretend like that's what got me into anime. What got me into anime was big dumb idiots that could breathe fire and use dragon claws, who also had some friends with really bad dads. I'm all
Hey, I think, bro, summed it up perfectly, bro. Not like you gotta have a good character for your series, and I think that's perfect. I think Natsu's a great character. So I don't know what y'all think. Y'all probably gonna hate the take I just made, but anyway, I'm gonna get up out of here. Hope you have a great day. Peace.